Welcome everybody, welcome to another one of our intuitive week topics, and today you are intuitive, here's why. I may keep looking down. Soraya is a bit poorly at the moment. She's literally lying next to me here asleep, bless her, but she was stirring. So anyway, yes, today we're going all the way through that you are intuitive, and here's why. Now, there are so many times where people talk to me and they say, but I thought intuition was just for the few, or they think that it's for people that are just spiritual or religious. And again, that's just another myth. So we're going to be busting through that one today by letting you know that actually everybody is intuitive, and I'm going to be going through here's why. So if you are new to me, welcome. My name is Traci Cornelius. I'm a transformation coach and intuitive. Please do say hi as you come on. We did have some issues yesterday with regards to comments, and it looks like I may be having them again today. So please do give me your comments. If I'm unable to see them, don't panic. I will come back and reply to them afterwards. So let's go through why you're intuitive and give you some examples of that. So I want to ask you, and you can put this in the comments as well, how many times have you just known something? You didn't really understand how you knew it, you just knew, or you had that instant feeling that you were going to get on really well with a person before you've even really had the chance to get to know them. Or you've had the opposite, where you have really wanted to stay away from a person, and you may have described that as having a bad vibe or having a gut instinct. These are all parts of your intuition. Thanks very much. Keep the thumbs up and the love coming. Hopefully I'll be able to see it on the phone as well. Now, yesterday we went through the definition of intuition, which is the ability to understand something instinctively without the need for conscious reasoning. Now, everyone, and I genuinely mean everyone, is intuitive. Now, the depth as to how intuitive you are and how much you've tapped into that really depends on how much you're paying attention, and also how much you're developing your understanding about it. And actually, I got a message. So Alex, if you're on, hi. Alex basically also mentioned that one of the things that she had found with regards to her intuition, as she's got more and more in touch with it, is, and I'll quote her her words, what I found is the more I don't question it or where it's coming from, the more I feel it. And then she said to me, does that make sense? Absolutely, 100% makes sense. And actually, on which day is it? On Friday, I'm going to be going through the 7 tips to get in tune with your intuition. I'm going to be talking a lot more about that specifically in depth. So really great for that. So thanks very much. Yeah, please do keep the thumbs up and the love coming. That means I also know that you can hear and see me as well. And hopefully I might be able to see some of your comments momentarily. So I'm going to give you some examples, because intuition really is a pinnacle part of my life. It's even saved my children's lives numerous times. And I'm going to give you some examples of that, because some of what I'm about to say to you, you may also recognize in experiences that you've had, but you may not have put them down to intuition. So I'm going to give you an example. The first one is during my labour. So when I was pregnant with Grace, I was overdue, and I was having a lot of stages where I was literally going into labour thinking, yes, this is it, like, going to meet our baby very soon. I would get to hospital, we'd go through all the motions, and then contractions would stop, and then we'd be sent home. And that happened, I think, from recollection, it was about 3 or 4 times. And then on the next occasion, we were kind of there, and we were like, yes, this is definitely it. It's all kind of going. It was an extremely long labour, very, very long labour. But I was in the birthing pool, and I remember saying to the midwife, I've really got the urge to push. And she said to me, oh, that's fantastic. Well done. Go on then, push. Thinking, great, she's at the next stage, baby's going to come soon. And I instantly turned around and went, no. I said, something's wrong. I don't know how I knew. I just felt that it wasn't the right thing to do, that I definitely shouldn't push the baby out. So anyway, she said to me, you know, you're probably just nervous, and she was kind of going through it. And I was insistent. I was like, no, I said, I really want you to check. So I got out of the birthing pool. She did a check, and she actually did turn around and went, actually, no, something really is wrong. The baby is too high, hasn't dropped at all. There's something going on. Cutting a very long story short, I had to have an emergency cesarean with Grace. When they went to take Grace out, what they realised was that she was well and truly stuck, but she also had a true knot in her umbilical cord. There's about 1 in 2,000 babies or so that have that. But if I had have tried pushing with where the positioning happened to be, it would have cut off all oxygen and blood flow and that type of thing to her, and so she wouldn't have made it. So that is another example of how that intuition, and it was very strong, of like, no, literally saved her life. Now, you could say, okay, well, that's just like mother instinct. Well, mother instinct is still intuition. It's still that intuitive part of you that you know something, and yet you're not quite sure exactly how you know where that information is coming from. And usually it is a very strong feeling. Sometimes it can be a voice, but it's very important not to confuse that with the inner critic or your inner coach, which I'm going to go into a lot more later on. So I want to know, especially in the comments, like, have you had any experiences with intuition, like a bit like I've just mentioned there? And it doesn't have to necessarily be saving a life or that dramatic. I'm just doing this so I can look at your comments because they're not coming up here. Then let me know in the comments, because it is very strong when these things happen, and it is really important, and it happens to more people, but they don't just necessarily realize, sorry, let's put that on silent. Yeah, they just don't realize that it's actually intuition. They don't just necessarily realize, sorry, let's put that on silent. Yeah, they just don't realize that it's actually intuition. Okay. So there we go. Right, hi Alex, hi Delwyn, hi Tammy, hi Dawn. Great to see you all. So I can see on here, but for some reason it's not coming up on the computer. Never mind. Right, I'm going to give you another example now. Now, this is a really profound example, and those of you that know me really well, that have been following me for a long time, you will know that these are examples that I talk about all the time, because I believe that the more that you get in touch with your intuition, the more you get to trust it, the more it helps in all different types of life experiences, right the way through from the dramatic all the way through to the everyday things that would just make life easier to experience. Now, when we moved into this property, that was about 2.5 years ago now. So I was pregnant with Soraya. Alina was, how old would she have been? Alina was just over a year, actually. She was a year and a few months, or about a year and a month, I think, when we moved into this property. And we moved in, we were settling in really well, it was all good. And then I just had this overwhelming feeling that we should get a baby monitor. We didn't have one before. You might think that's strange with the amount of children that we've had, but we didn't really need one. And I had this feeling of like a baby monitor. I was like, do we really need a baby monitor? And you know, when the logic part gets in the way, logic kind of sets in, and you're like, we really kind of need that. I mean, she's over a year old. And I think also there was that part of like, well, we're going to have Soraya, so it might be useful. And I remember mentioning it to Mark and saying, you know, I really think we need to get a baby monitor. Left it a few weeks, literally left it a few weeks. And then it came really strong. Like, you need a baby monitor. And everywhere I went, I was seeing advertisements for baby monitors, or it would come up on the television, or it would be those kind of prompts, visual prompts that I would be seeing out and about. So I was like, okay, fine, right, I'll go and get a baby monitor. So I get a baby monitor, I put it in, all good, nothing happens for a few days. And then in an evening, I was working under the stairs. I was a little bit like Harry Potter. That's where my office was for a long period of time. Didn't have this kind of room or the other one that you've seen if you've been following me for a while. It was all downstairs, underneath the stairs. And the baby monitor was plugged right down next to it. And I think Mark was in the front room watching television. I'm happy working away, all that type of thing. And then suddenly we heard a male voice over the baby monitor. I can't even tell you what it said. I just remember it being a male voice. And of course, Mark's in the house. There are no other males in our household. So we kind of shot up because, like, what on earth is that? Ran up into her room to discover that Alina had been sick. Now, most children have a natural response that if they're sick, they turn their head, but she didn't. She just literally was still lying on her back, face up, and she was choking. Now, again, the general consensus from a lot of people is you're thinking that if you're choking, you make a lot of noise, but actually you don't for a lot of time. So if it wasn't for the baby monitor, well, in fact, even with the baby monitor, we still wouldn't have heard her choking. So that baby monitor saved her life. Now, as for the male voice, I will let you come to your own conclusions as to what that happened to be. But I'm extremely grateful. It saved Alina. And then we had another experience very similar to that as well. We'd taken the two eldest of the youngest children out, so Nevaeh and Grace. We took them swimming. We were having a great day. Went for something to eat afterwards, thought we'd take them on the talkie wheel because it was something that Grace had always wanted to do. And her face was still a moment that I remember to this day. And you know when you have those really great days and you're feeling really good and you don't want it to end? You don't want that kind of magic to stop just yet. And we were getting towards the car and I just had this, out of nowhere, I just went, oh, let's have a sleepover in the front room. Like all of us, let's just have a sleepover in the front room. So of course the girls were really excited. You know, we brought down their little kind of mattresses and pillows and all this type of stuff. And I think actually on Instagram you'll see some pictures of that particular night. We watched movies and all lay down and all that type of thing. Great. And then in the middle of the night there was just one sound, and it was just, and that's about as loud as it happened to be as well. So again, shot up to find that Grace, similarly to Alina, must breed children that don't have this kind of response of moving their head, again had been sick and was doing the same thing, was actually choking. Now, if I hadn't had that intuitive thought to sleep in the front room, there was no way we'd have heard that from another room because it was very, very silent. So just three examples there that have literally had the thought process, a feeling, acting on that feeling is then what has saved my children during those times. I can also tell you that the most difficult times in my life, the most challenging, the ones where you look back and you think, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? At all times when I've completely ignored my intuition. Now there'll be other things. They can be simple as having the feeling that you take a different route to work and then you don't, and then you find that you're in a traffic jam or anything like that. It can be quite significant, or it can be really, really subtle. But these are all ways of showing you that you are intuitive. You may not have just realised that that's exactly what it happens to be. Now, I've also shared a number of stories on my blog post that will be going live at 11:15 today. So do check that out. I've also shared some from Oprah's website with regards to people experiencing their intuition as well. And I also want you to know that intuition is something that's very subtle. It's not kind of all this bells and whistles. It's not suddenly this massive bang that comes out of nowhere. It is just a feeling, and sometimes it can be quite a strong feeling, but it's still a feeling nonetheless. And this is why I think a lot of people ignore that, because they logically think there isn't any reasoning for it, because the feeling has come from practically what we would say is nowhere. It's not come from anywhere, it's come from your intuition. But because we're very logical beings, that's how we're perceiving it to be. There was no reason for me to feel like that. There was no reason for me to feel that we needed a baby monitor. There was no reason for me to think, okay, well, let's have a sleepover, apart from maybe it being fun. but these are all really good examples. You may find that you get a desire to go into a particular shop and be like, well, I don't really need anything. Why would I go in that shop? You go into that shop and you find your best friend that you haven't seen for years because you moved away. You might go on holiday and decide that you're going to go to a particular restaurant, and then lo and behold, you bump into somebody that you know. All of these things are your intuition, and I want you to recognize that, because I genuinely know that many of you will have gone through some of these experiences yourself and maybe just not have realized it was your intuition. So I can see that I've got a number of different comments now, so I'm going to go through them. So Alex has got on here, my daughter was due on the 29th of September, but I had a really strong feeling she would come sooner. 15th of September to be precise. I even went as far as telling everyone the doctors were wrong, and that I was certain she would be here on the 15th. Went into labour at 5 a.m. on the 14th, and husband said, nah, told you were wrong. Needless to say, she was born at 2:10 a.m. on the 15th. That's amazing. I love that. Dawn's got on here, I remember you under the stairs. No, I worked under those stairs for a long time. I earned this office, I can tell you. Alex has also got on here, I had a strong emotion and pull in my tummy the exact time my niece gave birth to my great nephew 60 miles away. That's amazing. There is definitely also an intuitive link between those of us that can also be very close, in the same way that sometimes, you know, when you think about your best friend, your mum, your dad, your partner, your brother, your sister, you think about them, you think, oh, I'll give them a call, and you go to pick up the phone and then they call you. There is definitely an energetic exchange with regards to intuition as well, which is even more fascinating when you go into that. So I really hope that you have found today interesting, and I really hope it's helped you to understand that you are intuitive, that these feelings, that these moments aren't just a figment of your imagination. They are your intuition, and your intuition is working for you. Now, if you want to find out how to make your intuition work for you even better, how to recognize it, how to understand it, how to harness it, and how to make it a part of your everyday life consciously, then stick around for the rest of the week, because here's what we've got coming up. So tomorrow we've got 7 everyday things that you never knew were your intuition. And then on Thursday, we've got why intuition is your internal roadmap. If there is any, if you're only just going to catch one, if you're only going to read one, watch one, I would highly recommend doing the why your intuition is your internal roadmap. It really helps you to understand just how significant your intuition is in your life. Then on Friday, we've got the 7 tips to get in tune with your intuition. So really helping you to understand that and recognize the signs, the feelings, that type of thing. And then on Saturday, we've got 7 tools for enhancing your intuition. So this is really when you want to be able to develop a little bit more, when you really want to be taking it into a conscious part of your daily or personal development, then that one is definitely for you. Fascinating subject. And then on Sunday, we have got this all rounding up of how intuition makes you healthier, attract the love of your life, be wildly successful, and also give you eternal lasting happiness. Because once you harness your intuition, you learn to be able to recognize that, to pay attention to that. It steers you in the right direction in all areas of life. So once again, do give me some thumbs up and some love, and please do share this, because I know that this message is meant to get out to many people, and it may just help them to also pay attention to their intuition a little bit more, and instead of trying to dismiss it or thinking that it's just come out of nowhere. And like me, by doing that and paying attention to that and acting upon that, it may also have an amazing life-saving aspect to it as well. So thanks very much. Hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow. And also don't forget that if you've got any questions with regards to intuition, if you want to learn about it a little bit more, like really what is it, like and give me some examples that are personal to you, then I'm going to post underneath here in the comments the link where you can post your questions, and I will do a Q&A covering all of those as well. Thanks very much. Speak to you again soon. Take care. Bye.